overlaying brief records not containing an 035 OCLC number. These procedures are for items with records that exist in the institution zone, do not exist in the network zone, do not have OCLC numbers in the 035, and need to be overlaid with a more complete record imported from OCLC connection. In order to follow these procedures, connection needs to be configured to work with the network zone gateway. As an example, let's catalog the title, A Companion to Miguel de Unamuno. The first thing to do is search for this title using a repository search in ALMA. So we can see that the record for our item has appeared. We're looking at this record in the institution zone because the institution tab is active. And we can also see that this title is not currently linked to any network zone record because the icon of the man with the blue face does not appear next to the title on this screen. Let's take a look at our record. Note that there is not an OCLC number in any of the 035 fields in this record. The next thing we want to do is go back and make sure that there's not a network zone record that we should link our inventory to, rather than importing a new OCLC record to overlay this institution zone record. We can go to the network by clicking on the Network tab. And we see that ALMA has already searched the network for our title, Companion to Miguel de Unamuno. Let's do a couple more searches and just make sure that there's not a network zone record that we just haven't found yet. We know the ISBN for this book. And that doesn't have any results coming up. So let's just do one more search for creator. We see that a couple of titles have come up here, but none of them is a companion to Miguel de Unamuno. So we can be pretty sure that there's no network zone record that's been hiding from us, and that we will need to import a more full version of this record from OCLC connection. Let's go out to connection and search to see if we can find a record we'd like to use. So we can see that we have several results here, but one of these is a DLC record, so let's look at that one first. This looks like a good record and it's fairly full, and it seems like the record that we'll want to use. Let's copy our OCLC number and return to ALMA. Now we want to open the record that we'd like to overlay in ALMA in the metadata editor. Let's do another repository search and bring our record back up. Now let's look at this record again. Yes, this is the right one, so we'll open it in the metadata editor by clicking Edit. Now the metadata editor is open and we see the MARC record and it's ready for us to do our edits. So what we want to do is add an 035 that contains the OCLC number of the record that we'd like to import and overlay on this brief record. Let's click in the field above where we want to add our 035. So we'll click in this 020, it's active, and we can press F8 to add a new field below this, or we could select Edit, Add Field, either one. Now what we want to do is add an 035. We'll type in 035 and leave both indicators blank. And then we want to enter OCOLC in parentheses. And then we can paste our OCLC number that we've previously copied out right next to it. Now we want to save the record. We can do this by either clicking on the disk icon here, using Control S, or choosing File, Save Record from the drop-down menu. The one thing we don't want to do is save and release this record just yet because we're not done with it. Now that we've saved our record, we want to share this record with the network zone. We can do that by clicking File, Share with Network, When I click on Share with Network, the record will be automatically released, and it will also be placed in the network zone. The record has gone away. So let's just check that everything went okay. We can click back. Let's click back again. Now, we see our record with the icon of the man with the blue face. So we know now that this record has been linked to a record in the network zone. We can look at the record in the network zone by clicking the Network tab. And there we see it has the icon of the temple next to it, indicating that it is linked to inventory in my institution. And we can also see that it says held by my institution. Now that the record is placed in the network zone and has the correct 035, we're ready to export the more full version of the record from Connection. We can do this by pressing the hotkey F5 or choosing Action, Export. We see that we have a message that says the record has been processed successfully, and we see that we've been provided with an MMSID number. We want to copy this MMSID number out and paste it into Alma. We can see that it brings up the record that we were looking at before, a companion to Miguel de Unamuno. But when we click on this record, it's been overlaid with the more full version that we wanted to bring in from Connection. Now we're ready to do any necessary local edits to this record, as well as to complete our holdings and our item records. We can do this by opening the record in the metadata editor, click on Edit, and we see that the metadata editor comes up and we have the MARC record in front of us that's ready to be worked on. We can complete our holdings and our item records by clicking on the icon of the clipboard or View Inventory. We have a holding and an item here. We can edit our holdings by clicking Edit. Let's make this screen bigger. Now we're ready to edit our 852. I like to use the Form Editor for this. Under Edit, you can choose Open Form Editor. We see that we have this book already at the main location, but we want, rather than the general location stacks, to change the shelving location to main B. When we're done with the Form Editor, we can close it by choosing Edit, Close Form Editor. And when we save our holdings record, Alma will automatically bring in the correct call number from the bibliographic record. Now we just need to complete our item record. We can get to the item record by clicking View Inventory again, View Items. I want to go to the Action menu, Edit. And once we're done completing all of the information in our item record, we can click Save. And we can go back. And this takes us back. We see that we're looking at the holdings record again. So when we're done with this holdings record, we can either click Save and Release Record here, or we can choose Control-Alt-R, the hotkey for that action. And we see that we still have a bibliographic record here that we also need to save and release. Be sure to release when you're done working. And we're done. Let's take a look at our record again. So we can see here that we're looking at the record in the institution zone. Our call number has been completed. Let's look at our record. It's the full version of the record that we just brought in from ICLC Connection. Let's go back and view this in the network zone. And we can see that the record has been placed in the network zone and that it is linked to inventory at my institution.